Hi, very good afternoon to everyone. Welcome to the 17th edition of World Education Summit on 27th November 2020 at the post lunch, and we are here with our esteemed panelists from the Pan India, the higher education leaders from all Pan India. So I would like to introduce the Professor Dr. Anoop Swarup, Vice Chancellor, Jagran Lakecity University. Welcome, Anoop sir. Welcome to the World Education Summit, sir.
Thank you.
Okay.
It's a real pleasure and a privilege to be here and to join all our very esteemed colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All our pleasure, sir. So we welcome Professor Atul Khosla, founder, Shoolini University. Welcome, Atul, sir. Welcome to the World Education Summit.
Thank you, Elats, and thank you, Abhishek. It's an honor to be with this esteemed panel. I'm sure we'll have a very exciting discussion today.
Perfect, sir. And we welcome Professor Sumit Singh, Vice Chancellor, Jagannath University from Haryana. Welcome, Sumit, sir. Welcome to the World Education Summit, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you. Thank you.
And we have Dr. Rana Singh, CEO, Triple I Cell from Sanskriti University. Welcome, Rana, sir. Welcome to the 17th edition of World Education Summit.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, privilege, honor, and delight to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. And we welcome our panelists, Dr. Satya Kumar, Jillella CEO and Board of Governance member, Indus University from Ahmedabad. Welcome, Dr. Satya sir. Welcome to the World Education Summit, sir.
Thank you very much. It's really a great pleasure and it's a privilege to be as part of this August panel and looking forward to an interesting discussion. Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So we are starting our panel and our topic of discussion for this panel is lifelong learning and skills, a changing market for higher education in India. So as we know, we are strictly working on the skills and we are focusing on the 21st century skills right now in the education domains and for the job skills as well. So I will proceed with the each panelist for their opening remarks regarding the what their views on the skills domain. Government is also working for the school on the larger scale. So I will start with the Professor Atul sir. What their opening remarks regarding the 21st century skills and the lifelong learning skills and what the take on the higher education leaders on that.
Thank you, Abhishek. It's an honor once again to be here. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir. You're loud and clear, sir.
Fantastic. I'll try to build my case in a slightly convoluted way. But I want to go back 300 years when the Industrial Revolution took place. When the Industrial Revolution took place, suddenly old skills that the world had became irrelevant. And a new set of skills came into play, which made world beaters out of countries like United States of America, United Kingdom, France, and many, many parts of Europe. So there's the good and the bad news. The good news is that the Industrial Revolution is over and the digital revolution has taken place. It's an opportunity for us to capture this opportunity. It's an opportunity for countries like India to give skills which are relevant for the digital age, for the digital revolution, and make sure that every person that we have in India becomes employable, and not just employable, I will say richly employable. So what are these skills? These skills are not the skills that you and I learned when we went to business school or we went to engineering college. Unfortunately or fortunately, these skills are evolving very, very rapidly. I'll give a small example over here. I have an iPhone in my hand. And this iPhone, the platform changes pretty much every 6 months to 1 year. So what you will ask me is learning, let's say iOS 14, when iOS 15 is going to come up in 6 months. And I think that's the biggest challenge that universities and educational institutions have. Because specific skills will go away. We need to teach our students the ability to learn, the skill to learn, not skills like Python or iOS and others, because those they anyway will get over time. So the ability to learn, the ability to unlearn something that you've learned in the past, the ability to collaborate, the skills to collaborate. I'll again look at my iPhone over here. I don't know whether you guys know, but there are 30,000 scientists across the world which are working towards making this iPhone. These scientists are not computer engineers. There are few computer engineers. There are few people who are designers, architects, metallurgical engineers, and the likes who make this wonderful mission possible. And if we don't have team skills, we cannot collaborate. And let me also mention over here that most of our students lack team skills. The skills to communicate. How do we interact with each other? How do we have discussions with work from home platforms like what we're having today? It's going to be a reality in the future. So these are very different skills. I'll categorize them as me skills and we skills. Me skills are those skills that are for me, my ability to learn, my ability to unlearn. We skills are how I interact with others, my ability to lead, my ability to communicate, my skills to collaborate. And these will be very, very important skills going forward. I know I've changed the topic. I'm not talking about technical skills. I'd also like to make a very strong statement over here. I think the word skills is highly abused in India. The role of a university is not to teach someone Python. The role of a university is to make students think, make them leaders, make them problem solvers. And that's what Oxford does. And I think when we start making great leaders, great problem solvers, people who just can think outside the box, that's when Indian institutions will play the role that we deserve to play. Thank you very much. And I'd love to hear other speakers.
Thank you, Atul sir. Perfect opening remarks regarding the. We will discuss more about the we and the me skills, and I will come over to the Dr. Anoop Swarup, the Vice Chancellor, Jagran Lakecity University. So I just request Anoop sir to give their opening remarks regarding the future skills.
Thank you, Abhishek ji. Let me start with a eternal quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Live as if you have to die tomorrow and learn as if you have to live forever. Now, as previous to me, Mr. Atul Khosla, he made a very pertinent point. This is an age which is really speaking the technotronic age, in words of Tofflers, Alvin and Hedy. Now, in this digital age, I am sitting here in Melbourne and I am just coming back from the biggest shopping center, Chadstone. Even my home is nearby. And I should tell you that it's 5G, which is all over the place. In a split second, I can download a whole movie. And as he rightly mentioned, the times are changing. This is an agile world. And in an agile world, as he rightly mentioned, you have to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Now, let me come to a very important point, and that is, see, after all, in our schools, we have paid a lot of attention, at least in India, on rote learning. My own kids, they studied in India, and now they are here in Australia. They did their schooling in both places. And I'm on the governing board of Central Board of Secondary Education. And I made a very pertinent point during our governing board meeting that we have to move away from rote learning. In India, still most of the schools have only rote learning. What we need is creativity. What Dr. Atul Khosla was mentioning is really something which is about man making, character building, and nation building above all. So this is possible. In fact, I recall I was in Washington for the book launch. You must have all heard about Thomas Friedman. The World is Flat. Second book was Hot, Flat, and Crowded. And the third book was That Was Us. And here in the third book, he was talking only of China, not of India at all. So in a corner over a cup of tea, I have mentioned. I said, why are you not talking about India anymore? He said, America is really worried about China. We are not worried about India anymore. I said, why? So he said, there are 3 C's, if you can make it short. First C is character. It comes from good schooling, character building. Second C is for creativity. That comes from good university education and a culture of creativity. Most countries are spending almost 6% of their GDP on education, not India. And the third C, which is the most important one, that is cooperation. Whether it is the opposition or the ruling party, they all get together when the prime minister is elected, and they work as one for building the nation, taking it forward. It's not, this is not the case in India. So that leads me to a lot of worries. And as you rightly mentioned, this is a very pertinent topic. Learning is lifelong. I keep learning all the time here. It is pursuit of knowledge which is more important. In words of Winston Churchill, he said, I hate being taught, but I love learning myself. So there is a whole lot of, I think this is a very important issue which we should take at the national level. The national education policy, it subscribes to a different world altogether, and it talks about
Perfect.
character building and learning. I won't take
Perfect.
much time because I would love to hear others. So
Yes, yes.
these words, thank you so much, Abhishek ji.
Perfect, sir. Perfect, Anoop, sir. And we will get back to you regarding the nation building and laying the strong foundation. We will discuss how we will do that,
Good.
sir.
Thank you.
And coming to Dr. Rana, sir, I need your opening remarks regarding the future skills and the 21st century skills and where are we going ahead. Rana, sir, your opening remarks.
A very warm good afternoon to one and all. It's indeed a pleasure to talk about lifelong learning. And we all understand that in a globally challenging academic environment wherein all universities are in the race of getting ranked as an outcome of their academic delivery, research, and consistent employability of the students. Well, it's also important for us to make sure that the students are employable for the lifelong on a lifelong basis. And for this, to make sure that the students are employable for the whole life on a sustainable basis, it's important to imbibe the lifelong learning skills, and it's important to focus on structure, a framework in which the students become so acclimatized so that they are learning on an ongoing basis about the latest developments in their domain, latest skills, and latest competencies to keep themselves employable. And it's important the universities can think of having a LMS, which can be meant for the alumni, wherein the alumni can update their knowledge, skills, and competencies by enrolling themselves. And we have a lot of international portals, LMSs, which can be used. So it's important for us to focus on lifelong learning as a matter of practice so that the students are leveraging their passion to enhance their knowledge, skills, and competencies to make themselves employable on a sustainable basis. Thank you.
Perfect, sir. So we will discuss on the latest competencies also regarding the skilling for the future youth. And coming to the Dr. Satya, sir, your opening remarks regarding the nation building for the 21st century skills and the lifelong learnings. Dr. Satya, sir.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Abhishek, and namaskar to one and all. And it's
Namaskar.
really a great opportunity to seeing you and talking to you. So coming on to the topic today, since Atulji has already taken us 300 years back, so I want to push you to 30 years or 3 decades in the front by 2050. The way today, if you see the market, the way it is driving today is that whole economy, the whole world development system is driven by the knowledge economy. At the same time, sustainable economy, green economy. This is a future economy, what you can focus on. These are the two pillars. One is knowledge-driven economy. Second is sustainability conscious economy. So these are the two pillars which are going to drive the future of next 30 years. Let it be jobs, let it be industries, let it be education, let it be any sector. All the sectors are going to be impacted by these two key parameters. So what it means to us in this skilling, upskilling is an imperative for to sustain and to live in. So when we talk about that, particularly India is also with even it is boldly now made a statement as part of our new education policy also that India want to be on a global education map as a global leader. They want to build capacity as a global player in education sector. So the transition to knowledge-based economy What it means is we have to be determined by the competency or the competitiveness by its people creativity, or the people, what are the people's abilities to share or use the knowledge, how well they can use the knowledge, and more effectively how they can create the solution. So this is where it will be measured. But at the same time, we are also seeing we are entering into such a disruptive times today. Like for example, the future is today. I would like to quote the Peter Drucker here. The future belongs to those who can dream and dare to act. This is very much simpler today. Today the uncertainty as well as the disruptive times are offering both education institutions, government, individuals, all stakeholders. Actually, there are huge challenges and huge opportunities. It is for us to tap, for us to mold wherever we want to do. And luckily, the blessing in this disguise is pandemic time is that everyone is at the same level of play field. So we are all playing at the same level of level field. So that's where you have a first mover advantage to be innovative or to make an advanced way of doing things. So this is where India stands, a unique position here. India, of course, we do have a lot of problem when it comes to the digitalization or online education. We were a bit slow. And if you see the Korea or the Japan or Singapore, they were all in mid-70s onwards. They were actually into the skill development focused education, but we were always into the factory-based degree given education focus all these days. But now the future is only, if you want to be there, 60% of the jobs which have been created today or which we are using today are going to be non-existent anymore. 60%. That means the 60% of the force we have built today or we educating it today, we are bringing the factor of redundancy very fast. So they all will be redundancy. Their skills will be redundant. So that will be a big challenge to everybody. But at the same time, 40% new jobs are coming for which you and me, even we don't know the job description. So it is left to us to be being creative. For us to be creative on this. So this is where, like Anoop ji has said, Atul has said, that the soft skills, which makes a big role, the creativity, adaptability, reimagining. So this is where the whole game of future education sector. Okay. And lastly, I want to talk about one more point, that is the market. At the same time, we also have a huge market potential. All these days, as a typical universities, we will be looking for an age group of higher education, 15 years to 25 years. That is my target group, main target group. Okay. Although we are doing some education executive level of courses and all that, but today the entire lifelong learning skills are driving because it could be a formal education, it could be an informal education, or it could be a non-formal education. So in this kind of sector, we have a age group to look at from 15 years to 60 years. Up to this is my target group. That is changing the way of the university offering, that changes the way of the programs we do it. I think with this, I would like to hear the other views also. I hope this sets the context.
Perfect, Dr. Satya sir. We will discuss regarding the future job skills also in our discussion. So coming to the Professor Sumesh Singh, we need your opening remarks. After that, we will put on our discussion, healthy discussion. So Sumesh sir, your opening remarks regarding the future skills, and are our youth is ready for it regarding the future jobs? So your opening remarks. Over to you, Sumesh sir. Sir, can you put on your mic?
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek.
Yes, sir.
I think all the three panelists, the distinguished professors, have talked about maybe 300 years back, 3,000 years back. Same saying is from my side, that the lifelong learning is not new for us as far as Indian history is concerned or the civilization is concerned. It used to happen during Vedic age, pre-Vedic age and the post-Vedic age. And maybe the systems were different at times through Gurukul, through Guru Shishya Parampara, and maybe at times it was linked with the religion also. But gradually, definitely the East India Company came and the British Raj came in India. There also I think they realize the learning of or the different skills when they try to merge the Indian manpower along with the English manpower. So my first take or my first sharing is that lifelong learning is not new for us as Indian civilization. And if I go 4 decades back, I think the adult education was a big name. And even I myself have taught elder people that how they can write, how they can read. But the purpose was different, just to educate them or to take care of our literacy rate. I mean, these were the things they have taken the back seat. If I talk about today's India, I think the statistics is talking about that there are 500 million people who are in the age bracket of 5 to 24 years. I think that's one side. The other side, if we see, maybe within the next 5 years, the population of India above 60 years will be just double, which is today. So I think, in nutshell, if we don't take care of school education, and that is to vocational manner, till now, yes, schools were there, universities are there, colleges are there, but skill development and the skill courses are not many. Maybe since last 5 or 10 years we have started with the inception of NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, and even the UGC has also come in picture. That now they are recognizing, or rather they are giving the approval for BVOC courses or diploma vocational courses. So I think with this background and keeping in mind the young population and even in futuristic way, we have to take care of the people who will be 60 years plus. So as management learner or the teacher of management concepts, I relate with the product life cycle. Today, for every teacher, for every professional in industry, I think uh, unlearning, reskilling, upskilling, they have become the real needs for every professional, whether they are teachers or they are professionals working in the industry. And I think government policies are also, since last 10 years, I'm seeing that whether it's a Ministry of Education, that is HRD at the apex level, and even the particular state governments, every government is taking the initiative. They are coming forward with new policies, not only for the case skill development for the sake of employment, but yes, how these people can maybe generate employment for others, and that's to entrepreneurship. So I think whole gamut of activities and a new landscape coming up of the National Education Policy 2020, I think the situation is quite right. As far as market is concerned, I think to me, my mind, market is huge from employability point of view, from life skill development point of view, taking care of maybe the whole ecosystem and even eradication of various societal problems which are cropping in even in the recent times. So I think this what I want to say as my
Perfect,
first line.
perfect inputs, perfect remarks, sir. So here we will start the discussion. So I just request all the panelists to be on the appointed inputs only. So I start with the Atul Khosla, sir. Atul, sir, right now employability is a big issue, and post-COVID it has erupted in major way. So, if lifelong learning can help youth in for the employability and how we can insert the entrepreneurship skills in our youth and in all our students. So, what's your take, Atul, sir, regarding this?
Abhishek, I would like to say three things over here. In the context of lifelong learning, we need to realize that when you reach the age of 60, most of the skills that you've learned are irrelevant. Having said that, in today's world, with healthcare where it is, 60 is young. 60 is the 40 of the 70s. So you're young and you are not skilled. So that's a very important part that we are looking now at Shoolini to say, can we actually start a university for the retired? They need education. They need skills to prepare themselves for the new world. So I think that's one thing which is very, very relevant and very important as we think about lifelong learning. So let's first talk also about skilling or capabilities or competencies that students will get in universities. I think the unfortunate part of India is that the quality of education that students get in universities and colleges tends to be rather patchy. I'll give a small example over here. I wanted a cook in my house. I wanted someone who became a cook in my home. And a kid came from Varanasi. And I started probing him. He told me that he had a bachelor's degree in hotel management. And as I further probed, he tells me that he has an MA in English. So here's an MA in English with a professional degree who's ready to become a help at home. When I probed and asked him, can you cook something? He couldn't cook anything. And when I asked him something in English, he knew no English. So here we have created professionals or students who are neither blue collared workers nor have the ability to become white collared. A big, big, big challenge in our country today. I again repeat it. I think this challenge starts at the school level. And please don't mind me, Abhishek, when I say this. You know, you expect universities to make a difference, but by the time they hit us, they've been through what I call 15 years of educational abuse. They know nothing.
Yeah.
They've not been trained to think. They are robots. They have zero enthusiasm. And then somewhere we expect that universities will give some magic on them, sparkle some powder, and they'll become employable. It ain't going to happen like that. So I think right at the start, we need to identify students who have the ability to go to university versus students who need deep technical skills. I again repeat that it is not the role of universities to give these deep technical skills. It is polytechnics and others who should be giving. I'm not even in the favor of skill universities, by the way. Universities are not meant to give, these plumbing skills and whatever skills that NSDC. By the way, NSDC, according to me, is the biggest failure of the government of India. We'll talk about that later. Don't quote me on this one. I hope I'm not recorded, or probably I am recorded anyway. Uh, now let's come to students who come to university. Our curriculum is outdated. I don't know how many times the Board of Studies meets to change curriculum in most universities, especially government universities. So in a nutshell, we have a big challenge. What we now need to do, because challenges are there, I think let's not worry about the problems. What we need to do is 3, 4 things, and I can't solve for the world. I can only solve for the university platform that I sit on. The first is we need to sizably leverage the digital world to provide great education to students. I love online, by the way. Suddenly, over the last 6 months, I've been able to bring in 15 Nobel Prize winners in front of my students. I've been able to bring in inspirational speakers like Anupam Kher and many, many more in front of my students. I couldn't have done that before. So can we use this opportunity where students are now ready to accept digital learning? Can we use that to give them learning in a different way? For example, we've now adopted Coursera across campus. Every student can learn and get certified from edX and Coursera. Earlier, also, they could have done that, but they didn't have the mindset. So use this mindset, use this change to create the transformation in how we deliver our pedagogy. I think that's one. The second thing is, I think we really, really, really need to upskill our faculty in universities. Our faculty is also archaic, and I think it's the role of universities to ensure that faculty gets upgraded and upskilled. I think the third area, in my opinion, is about leadership. I would request platforms like ELETS to actually go out and show that leadership of colleges and universities understand what's really happening in this new world. I meet lots and lots of regulators and people from the government, Abhishek, and I can tell you, they talk about stuff 20 years before. They don't understand, what's really happening in this world. My regulator comes and looks at me as if I'm, someone from Mars, because he doesn't understand technology. And unfortunately, they try to put on old rules onto us. So can you create a platform where you can make leaders and regulators aware about what's really happening in this world? I think these 3 things can make university education more relevant. And finally and lastly, which the new education policy says, let's bring research into university education. Anything that you do by creating something, by doing it with your hands, it becomes lifelong. Research pushes you towards problem solving. Research pushes you towards thinking. And that's what the country needs. And I think if we can do all of these things, there's no reason why India will not produce the best talent of the world. Thank you very much.
Perfect, sir. Perfect, Atul sir. And we will discuss in our next panel. We will put it regarding the foundation, how we can strong our foundation so that all burden not come to the universities directly, sir. And coming to the Anup sir, once a question was asked to Bill Gates that why you are hiring Indians in the Microsoft so much in a large scale. So Bill Gates answered that if we are not hire them, they will open Microsoft in India. So much skilled people we have, and how we can encash that skills to a nation building. You just in opening remarks, you just tell us all regarding the nation building. So what's your inputs regarding that? How we use these skills for this nation building?
Thank you, Abhishek. Let me come straight to the point. And one thing which I would like to mention right away, and that is in India, we are on the verge of a demographic dividend. But unfortunately, despite having bodies like the National Skill Development Corporation, NSDC, we are going to end up in a demographic disaster instead of a dividend. So my take is that in India, our polytechnics have failed. Government is not paying much of attention. What Dr. Atul just mentioned, I totally agree with that. And we don't need degree in our country at all. We need good electricians, good plumbers, good gardeners. Just a little time back, I had a gardener in my house, and he had a certification. Otherwise, he cannot do gardening job, and he can do his job in 1 hour. What 3 to 5 people in India will take for the whole day. They come equipped. So that is where we are lacking. So in our country, as I mentioned, half of India is less than 25 years of age as of now. But we are not making any use of that. That is one point. Second point which I would like to make, because I was heading the largest youth organization in the country almost 25 years back in the Ministry of Human Resources, the Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan. And we used to talk about man making, which I mentioned in my opening remarks. Now, the thing is, even Mahatma Gandhi, if you have read about him, Swaraj, written almost more than 100 years back, he was talking about skilling. And what he meant by skilling is not degrees. What he actually implied was skilling where we have got good manpower who contribute to not only nation building but also the economic growth of the country in terms of GDP. There we have failed drastically. Now, the third important thing which I would make a point, because Indians are good in maths, and as you mentioned, Bill Gates, I would totally agree with you. There are Indians, Americans are fearful because we focus on the 3 R's: reading, writing, and the third R is arithmetic. So the third R, as you would wonder, that makes us very good second in command, not the first. We are not leaders. We cannot become Bill Gates. Why do we have to become next? India can be a leader of sorts, and that is not happening because it is said that I mean, I shouldn't sound controversial, but the fact is, they say that you keep your reserve, will take your deserved. There is no meritocracy. Unless in India we value meritocracy. What I mean is that, yes, you support economically the creamy layer, but you should also give meritocracy its way. Otherwise, they will all go abroad. And in abroad, they recognize meritocracy. So that is the third important point. The fourth and quick point which I'll make is that schooling has to be really good. And by good schooling, I mean good communication skills, good reading skills, good writing skills, and also good speaking, oratory, the gift of gab. Here I found even our IITians or IIM students are not good enough when it comes to, giving an extempore in any forum. Because in India, we just focus on rote learning. And that is the unfortunate part which I mentioned. The fifth and last point which I'll quickly make, and that is very important for us. We can we can ride the digital wave. And as I mentioned again in the beginning, it is agile learning. So what we can do, and Peter Drucker once mentioned that learning happens to be a lifelong process. But it is much more even important that we should be teaching people how to learn, even in old age. I'm 60 plus, but I realize that I have to learn even more than what I ever did before. I have
Yes.
been taught in India, I've learned, I've got my degrees abroad, I've been teaching abroad as a professor, I've taught in India. But one thing which I have realized is we lack creativity in India. And when we lack creativity, we cannot make the country great. We want to be the 21st century. India would like to be a country which is of the first wave, which is not happening even now. So thank you,
Perfect.
Vidya. Yeah.
Perfect, sir. Perfect inputs. And we all have to think regarding the creativity and the innovation, the education and the research work. And we have to seriously think about this rote learning and to more focus on the research work. So coming to the Dr. Rana sir, so my question to you is that regarding the future job skills. Rana sir, are you getting my voice? Hello. I
Yeah,
think
you are
there is
audible.
some technical issue. Rana sir, are you getting my voice? Yes.
You are audible.
So my question to you is
Yes.
that regarding the future job skills. Right now in 2030, we are expecting such jobs that we are even didn't doing right now. So what's our plan and how should universities should proceed regarding this future job skills?
This is a very pertinent question in front of the universities today. When we see the emergence of artificial intelligence, we see emergence of different new technologies. We talk about machine learning, we talk about robotics, we talk about CNC programming, we talk about industry 4.0. So I quote one line from management which says, you give somebody a fish and you can quench the hunger for a day, but if you teach somebody fishing, probably you will enable the person to quench the hunger for the whole family for the entire life. So the culture which needs to be imbibed in the entire university system across the country is the culture of imbibing the spirit of lifelong learning and the lifelong learning skills. Let me share one small example what United Arab Emirates did almost 8 years back, when the entire country went for migration of curriculum which became outcome based in one structured template, which was divided into knowledge, skills, and aspects of competence. And when we talk about aspects of competence, there was a specific mention of emphasis on lifelong learning. So the emphasis is, which is required, is to have a shift from the current process of knowledge dissemination to knowledge creation as well. And when we talk about knowledge creation, we in the universities, we as academicians, we have to focus on imbibing research skills and to enable the students to focus on developing and writing research papers at undergraduate as well as postgraduate level, so that they are able to contribute towards research and they're focused in lifelong learning. So that is something which will enable the students to be consistent towards
I,
gaining knowledge throughout their life, and to make them passionate that yes, they are going to learn about the new technologies, the latest skills which are required, so that they are sustainable and they are globally employable on an ongoing basis. So the cultural change within the universities, and I appreciate the words of uh, Khosla sir, who said it's very challenging for the universities to do magic. So we need to really strengthen the values of the students during the school itself, so that they learn about learning orientation and they have to learn throughout life. It's not that they have finished their 10th class or 12th class and it is done. They have to learn the orientation, they have to have the skills to acquire skills and knowledge on an ongoing basis. So my take on this is to create a knowledge-driven society, a skill-driven society, which is making the students and the faculty members passionate to create new knowledge, generate world-class research papers, empirical research papers, and publish in the top research journals of the world, so that we take our research output globally
Perfect.
and take our universities to the top rank internationally. Thank you.
Perfect, sir. We will perfect input regarding the research waste. Research is the right now is the need of the hour. So, Sumit sir, coming to you. So, my question to you is that right now universities or any higher education institute is facing a challenge regarding the reskilling of the faculties and the professionals. Already they are teaching the students. So, how you are addressing this challenge to reskill the faculty, those who are already skilled, and make them enable that they what future prospect, and that they should work on the research also, they should work on the teaching also, they should work on the learning also. So how you are managing that thing, sir? How you are addressing that challenge, sir?
As far as whatever I could witness as my own experience along with my team since March, I think it was very rewarding, very much rewarding, as well as at the same time it was highly challenging. Why I say so? Let me recall the 16th March, once the first lockdown was put in Rajasthan. And
Yes,
yes, the university which I was working was in Rajasthan. So in 80% of my faculty colleagues were not knowing what is Google Classroom and how to go on Zoom. So what we did in first 3 days, that we had our own internal sessions. The computer science department, few of the faculty, they were, I think, well versed. And during itself, ELEX was organizing experience sharing seminars from various vice chancellors. So I will not name the universities who were big, right? But even their VCs were saying that I have thousands of the teachers, and it's very difficult how to train them in 1 day or 1 week or 1 month. So we have decided that we will not have online classes. So my first thing, or my first experience as a Rana teacher in pandemic time is that I think it has totally changed the mindset of we as leaders of the teams and even the faculty also. Now the interventions after March, yes, we had FDP MOOCs, we had many helping hands like Coursera or EDX. So I think that was a starting point. But today, even our faculty members, they are designing the question papers on their own. So I think that is the first thing we could do. And today, if you ask me, I'm also highly obsessed with the IT and use of ICT, and that is to in teaching since last 5 years. And personally, I'm highly satisfied that whatever has happened in last 9 months, it would have taken another 5 years for the faculty to get developed. So I think this is the big take, or big advantage for all the faculty members and fraternity of academia. If I take you back, I was just going through maybe preparatory working, so I could see one of the lifelong learning institute under the Delhi University and Faculty of Education, and which came in inception in 2007. So I think again it is a remarkable work done by DU, and the only purpose was how to make the teachers of today comfortable in use of ICT and even many of the life skills which they can take their care during their interventions in the classroom. So I think this was the first thing we could do. But now I think it has been mentioned earlier that use of AI, use of data science or the analytics, to teachers also, many of the things we have to learn for the sake of becoming a good teacher. And that's why I said in my opening remark that to me, even for teacher, even for professional in industry, it has become a product life cycle. If we have to remain relevant, if we have to go for becoming a futuristic teacher or remain in the market, I think all these reskilling and upskilling are must. And there are various provisions, starting from institutions to online courses to maybe the mentors, or it should be your own willingness. I think there are many people who can train you, and there are many discourses. And right now, even you will not believe, every faculty has been given as a mandate that at least you join one course for your development sake in the 1 month, and even they are the happiest guys.
perfect, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Sumesh, sir. Nice initiative that you have taken in your universities and in other institutes as well. So, coming to the Dr. Satya, sir, my question to you is something different from this context regarding this skilling. I am just want to ask you regarding this national education policy one question that more emphasis is given on the home language in this national education policy. Right now, government want that subject to be taught in their home language as well. So is it will impact our higher education system scenarios also if the foundation has been learning in the home language as well plus English plus other their mother tongues. So how it will impact the higher education systems? Sir, can you put on your mic? Satya sir, can you put on your mic? Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can hear me now,
Yes.
right? Okay. So your question is with regard to introducing the language systems, or which is the better way to reach to the
Yes, sir.
students. Okay. The entire process today is been towards a learning centric, as a learner centric or the seeker driven education system. You are still talking about like university would like to offer this or offer that. It is no more, because you may have this flexibility of next 5 years to see that I want to offer this, I want to run this program, but after 5 years you will be deserted, because students are very clever, and even the parents are very clever in their choice of selecting the institute or the university through which they can actually get a knowledge as well as a well-rounded development as well as employability. These three forms the basic thing. So when it comes to the language part, okay, this actually I agree. If you talked about language in the schooling system, definitely it would have made a huge impact because of the time when the formation of the brain, the age group of 3 years to the maybe the 12 years, that is the time where you can actually teach them in their native language or the language or multiple languages. If you can introduce there, the absorption capacities will be much higher. Okay, the fundamentals today, if you see, a lot of innovation is happening in Japan, a lot of innovation is happening in Korea, but why it has never happened in India? Where India is, even although we talk about a big boom of 180 billion IT industry, but at the same time, we are most of the 90% of our revenues come from services oriented, but not from the innovative based innovation. So this is where the fundamentals, absorbing the capacity of the fundamentals at the school and high school, that kind of coming with a native language teaching is fine, perfectly fine. But when it comes to the higher education, definitely we should look at more into a kind of a global scenario. Today we are creating the capacity not only for India. Please look at that aspect, because we are all at a level playing field, same level of market we are looking at. Let it be a developing country or a developing country. So India, as Anoop ji has said, we have a dividend of demography. Okay, and that is where if you want to really take advantage of this one, you should look at creating a capacity, because ultimately the market has been driven by the demand and supply. So what is that demand? What is today is required? Whether are we having the demand to create, or are we having the supply to produce that kind of demand? This is very important in this. But for that, language need not be a barrier. Actually, if you learn today the Japanese, the whole Japanese industry is shifting from China to India, then we would have whoever has already the Japanese learning skill, they have a huge opportunity to play a major leadership role. Because today we are not talking about anything like employability or a working opportunity. We are talking about leading the Google or leading the industries or the institute which are coming into India. So this advantage we will have huge. So learning not necessarily the native here, learning and adopting with the other foreign languages will give, because today education somehow or the other, it is into although the industry is becoming more like a localization or a protected globalization, but education is open today on a global scale. This, of course, we started late. Whenever the industry 4.0 happens in an ideal society, education 5.0 should happen by then, so that then you can supply the resources of the students. That is what the industry required. But today you have an opportunity to, one is identifying and reskilling the existing working population, which is about 62% of our population today, and which are between the age group of 15 to 59. So this is another new market segment came to you. Here you have to use all your skills that how you can make use of this executive education for them. Of course, here government also have to play a big role in this to facilitate this. But language perspective, I want to promote the higher education for more with the foreign languages, because now we want to play on a global scale and being a global education provider. So I think you have a lot of advantage if you can collaborate and cooperate and operate on these parameters. So many of the industry 4.0 technology need not be a kind of another program by itself. You may operate as a BTech artificial engineering and machine learning, but you can also do a 6 months course for a mechanical engineer. You can also pay in addition to that certificate, or you can. So this is where you have to focus more than language, the technological skills and software soft skills. Because this is where even I got an opportunity being a former VN expert and also being in Infosys earlier to coming into the education sector. I have been given an opportunity to provide inputs for the NUP 2020 also. Here we have given an integrated education model, which is called, so far the education has been looked at intelligent quotient, IQ model, only memory-based education and a credit-based education. But we have introduced 3 other parameters, which includes emotional coefficient, which is very important to be a global leader, because today Indians are into the global stage, they are playing in a leadership roles. Why not you prepare them? Okay. And second is sustainability coefficient or the social coefficient, SQ. This is also very important. Like today, I always used to tease my IIT colleagues that IITs are, although you call it as the Indian Institute of Technology, but for me as an Indian, it is an isolated institute of technology, because they never served the community around us to the India. So, so that way I see the SQ is very important, social coefficient and being sustainable coefficient is very important. And lastly, another important factor, particularly in these kind of pandemic times and disruption times. Today you see a taxi company, the largest world taxi company is nothing but Uber, but they hold a no single taxi on their name. They don't own a single taxi, but they are the biggest player. Similarly, Paytm, they won't transact any currency or a cash business, but they are the world largest bank. This is how the things are changing. Maybe tomorrow we will come with the largest education service provider without having a university or a campus. So this is the kind of disruption that is happening. It is happening at the industries also. All of a sudden, suppose say your skills are totally redundant because we are totally automated. This entire lump sum mass scale people can be asked to leave the company. That means it's a huge setback for the people, both emotionally and psychologically. This is where we have to build another coefficient called AQ. This is called that is actually to face the disaster areas. Okay, that is where we say this is where this is very important. These are the 4 particular coefficients need to be brought in when we are offering the education to any, whether it could be a formal or non-formal or informal. But at the same time, opportunity, we need to be flexible and adaptable. We have to inculcate the thinking of adaptability. This is what will change the game. This is the game.
Perfect, sir. Perfect input, sir.
Thank you.
So we will work on that. And as we are less in the time, so I request all the panelists to give their closing remarks in the shortest of their time. Actually, we have only right now time. We have only 10 minutes left. So I request each panelist to give their closing remarks. So I will start with the Atul sir. So Atul sir, I want to ask your inputs on this closing remark that India is the 3rd largest network of the higher education after US and China. We have almost more than 993 universities in India. We have 39,000 colleges, more than 10,000 private institutes in India. So learning is everywhere. Our students, our youth is learning from universities, from the other institutions as well. So regarding this lifelong learning, what Atul sir, your inputs that this should be the best practice, that it will make this India a stronger nation and it will lay the strong foundation for our coming youth. So what the best practice you think that for this lifelong learning?
I will take not more than 2 minutes, Abhishek.
Okay, sir.
I think the first is focus on quality. We have lots and lots of universities, we have lots and lots of schools, but in the global educational platform, in the global educational system, India is nowhere. And I'll give a small example over here. The QS Asia rankings were out day before. Some of you might have seen them.
Yes, sir.
Highest ranked Indian institution is ranked 37. And there are very, very few Indian institutions in the top 100. A country like Singapore has all its three universities in the top 10. A university like Shoolini, which is very young, ambitious, of course, we are now in the top 300 in Asia. We are 38th in the country, ahead of universities like Punjab University and even IIT BHU. We are number one in citational research without no money. So if we could do it, why can't the others, the big IITs, why can't they push themselves to do it? Because it's about vision, passion, quality. So my first thing is build that quality into the institutions. Number one, let's not be talking about the glory of the past. Let's compete head on with the best in the world. China has done that, by the way. The second thing I'd like to build in for higher education is focus on research. There are lots of educationists over here, lots of vice chancellors here. If you want to build a great university, you cannot build a great university without building a great research platform that has a sizable impact on the community around you. Every global university, whether that's Stanford or Harvard or MIT, has had that impact. Unfortunately, in India, that's not happening. So, two things: focus on quality with passion, believe that you can do it. And secondly, dispassionately work on research, and India will become the leader in the world. And we have no choice. Institutions, countries with a great knowledge economy are going to lead the world. If we do not build great Indian institutions, India will not become a superpower. Period. Full stop. I rest my case.
Perfect, sir. Perfect. Quality is the key. Perfect input, Atul, sir. So coming to the Sumesh, sir. Sumesh, sir, your closing remarks regarding the best practices for the lifelong learning and to take this future ahead. Sumesh,
Unmute.
sir, can you put on your mic?
See, let us agree that everyone, including teachers and the industry people, which are to be employed in industry, whether it's a service sector or manufacturing, everyone needs skilling, reskilling, as well as upskilling in today's time. But the biggest question is that what should be the role of higher educational institution, and that is to the universities. I think this is where we have to understand whatever Khosla sir has told, that yes, let us focus on the quality. But many a times we think as academic administrators or the promoters that first let the quality student come and then the quality faculty should be deployed.
Yes.
I think in general this is the practice or this is the thought which is going on. To my mind, even within the faculty, let us classify who can be the excellent and dedicated teachers, means who can deliver in a best possible manner in class. Similarly, another category can be the researchers. Third category can be people who can be behind the students in labs or maybe in projects. I mean, they are trainers. They are not really teachers, they are trainers. And let me recall whatever Professor Sanskriti shared yesterday's session, that now learning should be more, teaching should be less. So I think to my mind, first let us classify the teachers, three categories of the teachers, and according to not to push them, even through the pulling or through their willingness, and let them be trained or let their skill sets be identified. And if such quality teachers are deployed in the classrooms or in the labs or maybe on project work, I think the rest of the things should be taken care of. Whether it's research or skill development or imparting the knowledge in the classroom.
Perfect, Sumesh, sir. Learning should be more rather than the teaching. Perfect input, sir. So, Professor Anoop, sir, your closing remarks regarding the best practices for the lifelong learning, and are we on the right path?
Very thank you, Abhishek. Very quick remarks, closing ones. In India, as you are all aware, we have got three important pillars when it comes to higher education: equity, access, and quality. but not essentially in that order. So I would like to put quality as number one, followed by equity and then access. That is number one. Number two, I'll make a quick point on languages. All over the world, I've been to Germany, in Australia too. They're learning even Hindi and Mandarin apart from English. And we should have no qualms because I was a part of the national education policy. And we had a lot of deliberations before deciding on the local language, because when it comes to creativity and innovation, a child can really do his best when it comes to his own language, which his or her mother speaks. That is the second important point. And third, and this is the most important point, more than research, because research is the domain of universities. More than research, we need lifelong learning, which can be from good schooling. And good schooling means that we encourage innovation, creativity, man making, because that will result into nation building. We need a country, India, which is the first and foremost, which is a country which is a developed one and which rides the wave of innovation and change. With these words, I'll rest my case. Thank you.
Perfect, Anoop, sir. Perfect. Thanks for your closing remarks, sir. And coming to the Rana, sir, your closing remark regarding the best practices for the lifelong learning and is our future bright? Sir, can you put on your mic, Rana, sir?
Under the guidance of our Honorable Prime Minister and our Minister of Education, the future of the country is definitely bright. And taking forward the views of Professor Atul sir, I have a very strong commitment towards establishing one center for lifelong learning in all Indian and foreign universities, wherein the student must join for the whole life. Currently, what happens, the student gets a degree after his convocation. In India, there's a culture of selling off the books to the kabadi. So probably there's to be a culture of reorienting towards joining the school of lifelong learning, so that he or she has to continuously make sure that he's acquiring the skills. That's one. Dedicated center for faculty development who has to be oriented, the faculty has to be oriented towards ongoing research skills, definitely pertaining to publications in ADCB journals, as well as all the softwares like SPSS, SAS, SysStat, StatCrunch, and many more, MATLAB, etc. So that's the second center. Third, dedicated center for research and development to focus on generating new solutions to the latest problems like corona and other such deadly challenges.
Hello. I think we lost the connection of Dr. Rana, sir. This is one of the challenge also, sir. So, coming to Dr. Satya, sir, we need your closing remarks regarding the best practices for this lifelong learning, and after that we will close this session.
Okay. So, thank you. Can you hear me again? So,
yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So I would like to emphasize further to whatever Dr. Anoop ji and Dr. Khosla ji has talked about it. To supplement that further into this, what we need to create across 7 factors, which is first one is build capacity. You have to build the capacity. Today we don't have that capacity. Industry requires, say, we require 1 lakh of the artificial intelligence skill set graduates immediately. We don't have. We cannot supply. So we have to build capacities at a university level, where you are offering, and at the same time at the India level also, when we are want to create this access, create this institution, avenues or the opportunities for learning. And second one is accessibility. This also been talked by Dr. Anoop also. So accessibility, because majorly who are the people going to be, if you see the democratic social strata, the lower income group of people as well as the middle income group of people, they are the mostly going to be affected by this. Any change, any uncertainty, anything that is going to happen. So making it accessible is one thing, and making it affordable is another thing. Suppose there is a big data science you can learn in 3 months or 6 months, but you have to pay 1 lakh, 1.5 lakh. I don't think how many people can afford to that. Okay, so this is where government can step in, and they can do a lot of other things through tax incentives, or maybe they can actually encourage the universities to offer There are many ways of doing these things, or maybe the regular learning plus online learning. It's a blended learning approach that can be looked at. And the third one I would like to bring here is stakeholder concept. The stakeholder concept, no more the students are the alone. We have to look at the stakeholders. Your industries are your stakeholder. Alumni is your stakeholder, because alumni requires reskilling. They will be your students again, but offer in such a way that they can pick, they can learn anytime, anywhere. But anytime, anywhere, as a private university, am I allowed because of this regulation system? You have to change that. You should allow me that I should be able to take Shoolini University's course from Professor Khosla right from there, staying in Bangalore, but at the same, or Ahmedabad, but at the same time, they can take the course from vice versa. It should be that building that flexibility should be brought in. And the kind of goals and targets we are having, and today we have about 900 plus universities in India in all together. Is it sufficient at all? And when you look at and project it, we require for a GER ratio, graduates enrollment ratio of achieving a GER ratio at that scale of 50%. You need at least 10,000 universities. Overnight, you cannot build these 10,000 universities. Why not you bring in private sector more actively? When I say private sector, then also they will also create that private sector should come only as a kind of a philanthropic mode. Why to be on a philanthropic mode? Why not like a Western universities and other things? We can look at declare education as an industry to attract more private sector into this. So if it is affordable, I will go there. If it is not affordable, I will go to IIIE. If it is affordable, I will go to Ajim Premji University, or sometimes it may be cheaper than that also. So this is another important factor you can look at. And here, lastly, I would like to say two things. One is from the individual side also, as an individual learner or a knowledge seeker, they should look at an all-rounder development. Okay? Today, the industry or the society requires all-rounders. We don't need any more like a specialist. Left ear specialist, right ear specialist, those days have gone. We need all-rounders who can do both. So this is where that only can give us the future. They can only sustain in the future with that adaptability and flexibility. And lastly, government has a big role to play, not only with the policy, but from the investment, building the capacities, and some incentives and encouraging the private sector to be participating in this, that actually create the ecosystem really to can build on this lifelong learning experience. So with these remarks, I'll conclude it here. Thank you very much.
Perfect, sir. Perfect, Dr. Satya, sir. Dr. Rana, sir, if you want to add, we lost your connections.
Oh, well, thank you very much. My main
Abhishek,
focus
I'm sorry,
was
I have to run for another meeting. I apologize.
Yeah, same
I
here.
have to really go.
Leave, please.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very much, and so lovely meeting all of you. Bye-bye.
So
thank you so much.
I
Great,
think, sir, we should wrap up right now. So I
Yes, we
request
can.
I'm also taking a leave.
Rana, we will carry forward to it, and thanks all my esteemed panelists for giving your precious time for World Education Summit. And I request my audience, if you have any question, you can take offline question. You can follow their social handles. Professor Anoop, Professor Dr. Rana, and all our esteemed panelists is very active on the social media. And thank you very much. And I request all the audience, you can visit our expo, and we have partners. You can network with that partners also. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Abhishek. Thank you so much. Thank you, John. Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much. Namaskar. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
So I request